Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting of September 19th, 2024. I welcome everybody back after our summer break. And as chair of the committee, I recognize we have a quorum, so I call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is to introduce our new committee member, a new member of the Finance Committee, Mr. David Remington. Welcome, David. We're very happy to have you as part of the committee. So why don't we go around, starting with from Rajesh, and just introduce ourselves to David.
Hi, Rajesh Velagpuri. I've been on the committee for a little over, maybe 1 year.
I'm Milind Kanetkar. I completed 3-year term recently, starting a new term. So thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Hi, David. Brian Ganger.
Jim Flynn, David, entering my 3rd year on the board.
I'm Vikram Chabra. This is going to be my 6th year.
Yep, Dennis O'Connell. I think it's going to be my 5th year. And welcome aboard.
Diana Bowley, I think it's my 3rd year. I lose track of time. Anyway, very nice to meet you.
Gene Butnigan. I'm a newcomer.
Every year.
I've been filling in for the last year and a half. I think I have a permanent assignment now.
So Dave Remington, been on committee 1 day.
So do you want to say anything about yourself, David?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I've been a resident of Shrewsbury for 24 years, town meeting member. I would like to have gotten more involved in the town, but in the job I had, I could not. So I retired, started my own business, became a town meeting member, and I've been happily appointed to this board. And I look forward to working with you guys and the town employees, the other committees, and the citizens on our budget formations and our financial matters that come before us.
We're very happy to have you on board, David. Thank you. We shall now move to the next item on the agenda, which is reorganization of the committee. We do this every year. Alex, thank you for the memo describing the roles of the various officers of the committee and the process that we shall follow in order to set up our organization for this year. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the process that is to be followed? If not, we shall move to elect a chair for this current year. May I get nominations for the position of chair?
I nominate Vikram.
May second. Are there any other nominations for chair? If not, we shall proceed to a vote. All in favor of electing Vikram Chabra as chair of the committee, please raise your hands.
Aye.
Okay, I guess I'm elected unanimously. Thank you for your confidence, everybody, for another year. We shall now proceed to vice chair. Dennis, is there something you would like to say?
Yeah, I spoke with Vikram earlier. I've decided not to run for a vice chair or chair position or any board executive position this year due to some issues with work and some other things. I just want to have the time to commit to that part of it. I will commit to being here, and doing my job as a committee member, though. So.
I'd like to thank, on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank you for all these years of being vice chair, Dennis. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Could I just add one comment?
Sure.
When something like this does happen, you think there could be some communication so all the members know what's going on, that Dennis no longer wanted to continue in that position. And the second thing is, I think, and I don't know where it got out of sequence, but we always had a nominating committee on the finance committee. In other words, the chair back in May or June of the previous year would say that we would have a slate of new offices coming up in the fall. And we would form a nominating committee at that time, 1 or 2 people, and they would handle the nominations for the upcoming offices, regardless of who was in place, whether they were going to continue or step aside, et cetera, and then present it to the finance committee the day of the election on there. So I think that's something that should be looked into rather than the procedure, what I've seen here the last couple of times. So that's just my opinion.
Would've been good to have that
Yeah.
opinion last year. I'm not opposed to doing it that way either.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. We should basically consider doing that for the following
I would second.
years.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I agree.
Thank you.
So we can put that on the agenda for the following year. Are there any other any other comments in conjunction with what Jean just said?
No, I mean, I second that opinion, definitely. It's a good suggestion.
We shall now proceed to nominating the vice chair of the committee. I would like to nominate Jim Flynn, who is currently our clerk, up to the position of vice chair.
I'll second the motion.
So are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? If not, we shall proceed with a vote. All in favor of electing Jim Flynn as vice chair, please raise your hand. And Jim is elected unanimously. Congratulations, Jim. Will we have to shift positions as a result of that? Or we can
No,
do
we
that
don't have
after?
any signs in front of us right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we shall now proceed to the position of clerk. May I get a nomination for the position of clerk?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Diana Bowley as clerk.
May I get a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations for the position of clerk? If not, we shall proceed with the election. All in favor of voting for Diana for the position of clerk, please raise your hand. And Diana is elected unanimously. And that completes our reorganization. Congratulations, everybody, and thank you, committee members, for and the suggestions, Jean. We shall now proceed to item number 4, which is accepting the minutes of April 25th, 2024, which was basically our public hearing. Has everybody had a chance to go through those minutes?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, because I was not on the committee at the time, I'd like to abstain from
Yes.
the vote.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So all in favor of approving the minutes of April 25th, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. We shall now vote on approving the minutes of June 20th, 2024. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the minutes that were posted? If not, may I get a motion to approve the minutes of June 2024?
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. We shall now move to item number 5, which is the town manager's report. During the course of the summer, the IS chair had to ratify 2 transfer requests. So I'll hand it over to the town manager's office to speak about that.
Thank you. So, as you recall, at the June meeting, the Finance Committee authorized the chair or vice chair to approve reserve fund transfers for FY24 up to $10,000. So the first reserve fund transfer request that was approved was for town council professional services. And at the June meeting, we did have an estimate for what our June legal counsel bill would be. It did come in a little bit higher than what was estimated when we got the actual bill, so that reserve fund transfer request was for $2,429.
What's our final bill now
For the whole year,
for the whole year?
I can get that for you, just one moment.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions or
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, I have a question after she's finished.
We can get it later if it's also fine.
So our total expenditures for town council in FY24 were $282,732. And $103,831 was used from the reserve fund in total.
May I have a follow-up?
Sure.
So then, do we expect the same amount of expense because of the ongoing legal needs, or
So it's hard to tell at this point, since that was pretty close to a full fiscal year of kind of those unanticipated costs. We'll certainly keep an eye on it as time goes on through, the first part of the fiscal year.
Thank you.
Gene?
Of this 2,429 expended, is that all for the Beal project?
So, no. So that, our town council encompasses all
No, I know that.
legal counsel. And then there was also I would say about $1,000 of that was Miracle Connell, which is our town council. And then the remaining portion of that $2,429, Charter Spectrum submitted a cable franchise agreement application to the select board. And we had separate legal counsel assisting us through that process. That was done by KP Law. So we also received a bill at the beginning of July from them for services related to that matter, and that was a little bit more than we were anticipating as well.
Could I ask one more follow-up?
Sure.
Could you tell us what the total is presently for the legal cost on the Beal project alone?
I can give you an estimate, yes. Just one moment.
I believe we had requested that information.
Yeah,
at the
I think it's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
provided. I don't want to just guess, but might be a lot.
I would say it's about $120,000.
And it's still continuing because there's no decision so far on it?
There is no decision at this time, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Do we expect the decision anytime soon? Is there anything in the near future that's gonna happen on that, or is it?
Yes, I do know that there was work done over the summer. I don't have the most up-to-date answer on that, but yes, it is moving along, but it's basically going back and forth at this point in time.
So, I had a question related to that, because we had received some correspondence from Representative King over the summer about some allocations from, like, there was the Mass Leads Act and state budget, and some of those allocations were related to the town center, some projects in the town center. So are those monies sort of blocked as a result of this, the litigation ongoing over there, or how would that work?
I'd have to get a better answer for you on that. I think that they are separate. I guess the town center itself doesn't just solely encompass the property at 1 through 7 Maple, but I can get a better answer for you, Chair.
But are you doing one additional follow?
Yep.
Is there any communication here, what's really happening between the developer and the town? I mean, we gave this property to him for $250,000. Now we've spent $120,000 defending the property, so we're down to $130,000 for the building, which is kind of a bargain, really, when you think about it, in the town center, a school of that size and 3.5 acres of land. I think we need some more updates on this expenditures.
So is the question that, just seeking more updates, providing an update on the current legal status?
Yeah.
Okay, and expenses, okay.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Are there measures in place to limit the expense that's incurred relative to this?
I don't think that there's been a voted cap in which we're willing to expend. It's, part of it's gonna be on the appetite of the developer themselves. Appeals like this are not uncommon. We did experience the same thing with Lakeway, which was about 16 months. While we don't plan for it all the time, it does happen. It doesn't help answer your question. but
No, and
yeah.
the 250 price, if we exceed 250 in legal, it really doesn't make any sense than just thinking it through, so I was more just curious.
Oh, I guess it's what the value is.
Yep.
What's the end value and how we are measuring that. It's not just the sale of the property, that's the value to the community.
Of course.
Yep.
I just want to make it clear that they're also removing all the hazardous waste. They're responsible for that. So it's not a 200.
I get it.
Say we only took $250,000 is misinformation. It's $250,000 plus anywhere from $400 to $500,000 or $600,000 to that, and they're giving us back 7/10 of an acre
Yes.
or park,
Yep.
of which they're also going to completely loam over and do that. So 250 is a really bad number, I would agree, but that's not the real number. And we should at least be honest about that. I'm not saying you're not, but I just want to make sure that people
No,
hear
no,
that.
same.
It wasn't given away for $250,000.
David?
So in the last case, the Lakeway case, did you and the settlement recover any legal fees?
I would have to get a better answer for you that. on
Because
that.
that's going to make a difference if we can recover legal fees
Correct.
from the town. to
And that
this.
was, yeah, we can get a better answer on that.
Jim?
David, you highlighted Lakeway went about 16 months. Can you remind me or the group how far in we are with this particular case? It's at least a year, if not more?
Yeah, it's over a year, but I don't,
Okay.
it may, it's over a
That's
year.
fine. All right.
Yeah, correct.
I'm going to echo what Gene said. I think it would be important to get, maybe at the next meeting, even an agenda topic specific to this situation with some color on costs, what we think, some more detail around the whole project, and we can have a further discussion.
Could I just have one follow-up to,
Yes.
on the pollution and the cleanup on that? And they're also eligible for state reimbursement on there, so it will not be a full cost to the developer out of his pocket, because it's a green field. That's what they fall under, so they will be subject to reimbursement from the Commonwealth of Mass on there, so. I don't know what the exact total they'll get back, but it's still running pretty substantial percentage-wise of what's.
And any other
spent.
thing they find out there, they're responsible for, not us.
Yeah.
They're it's a trade-off of liability.
Yeah.
I had one more.
We got our questions that we'll be prepared to share with the board at the next meeting, or the committee at the next meeting. So thank you.
I had one more unrelated
Yeah.
to Bill.
Yeah.
Alex, I think you said a little over 1,000 for the cable, for charter, you said?
Yep.
They had submitted an application, and then, if I'm not mistaken, they withdrew it. So what occurred that we had to deal with some legal expenses?
So that bill was from the month of June, so I believe they
Yep.
had a hearing scheduled in June, so there was work done in the month of June on that matter.
It was work to help support the select board in understanding the charter agreement that was presented to the board, and was briefing them on questions that they could ask at the public hearing.
Thank you.
Yep.
May I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Quick. So why is not the in-house legal supporting that aspect?
I wasn't sure why we had to go with KP Law.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure either. It could be maybe a conflict of interest, potentially, if that arose, but if there was any sort of conflict for it being done in-house, but we can find that out.
Sure, thanks.
There are no more questions. Are we ready to vote, or do you have anything to say on the second item, Alex? The sales tax?
If you want to,
We can vote on them together, so.
yeah, sure. So the second reserve fund transfer request that was approved was for the treasure collector's clearing and sale of tax title account. This line traditionally has been funded at about $10,000, and we needed $3,414 to cover invoices incurred throughout the remainder of FY24. This line pays Capola and Capola, which is a tax title attorney. And the reason for the overage is through the work of the treasure collector's office, they were able to go back and put together tax title takings for fiscal 2018 to fiscal 22. So it was just a little bit more of a workload than is normal for the fiscal year, which is why there was the overage.
Any questions, comments?
Quick, want to clarify. So that will be only every 5 years, is that, if I remember correctly, is that?
I think if we were on, we were cleaning up some historic years of the tax title data, so ideally, we would be just cleaning up 1 year at a time as opposed to a number of years. Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions on both of these fund transfer requests? If not, may I get a motion to ratify the reserve fund transfer requests of $2,429 for the council professional services and $3,414 in the treasurer, collectors, clearing, and sale of tax title services, in total of $5,843.
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. We shall now move to the next item in the town manager's report, which is the financial and year-end financial review.
Good evening. We wanted to provide some snapshots of the year-end for fiscal 2024, and if these spur questions, we look forward to answering those from the committee. So the FY24 budget was $146,208,009, and turnbacks have amounted to $2,084,657. So that was about a total expenditure of about 98.57%. How does this compare to previous years? It's about 800,000 greater, or 70% over what we turned back in FY23. And the main reason that we may see an increase in turnbacks in FY24 versus FY23 is most likely the utilization of ARPA funding to offset operating costs. However, if we were to look at a FY21 through FY23 average, the turnbacks are about 1.87 million. So it's pretty close to the average of the multi-years before that. All right. And you want to go
Oh,
next?
quick question.
Yes, please.
But those multi-years before that, was there ARPA funding including those as well?
No, it was not.
Okay.
So it's
And what was the amount of ARPA funding?
in total, or
That would be, in total,
yeah. So I mean, there were some changes in the middle of the year as the guidance from the state on how to designate and what's the correct word? Obligate the ARPA funds, and we did pivot, and we had the board obligate funds to different areas within the operating budget to ensure that we would meet the expenditure requirements. I can give you, can't recall the full breakout off the top of my head, but we can provide that full list of where we're at.
I guess my question is, if we got $6 million in ARPA funds that we spent, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, and, next year we won't, or this upcoming year, we're not gonna have that, so.
Yeah, on the operating budget, that's a great question. The operating budget, we put a lot more focus on staff training. So that's probably the single largest area within the operating budget. We would see that in FY24, is providing those training opportunities for the different departments.
So it was not recurring.
Correct. Yes, that was intentional.
May I ask a quick question on follow up on the ARPA funding? So now, were we able to utilize all the funds that are available for 20?
We haven't completed, we haven't obligated all the funds. There will be a report by the end of this month. Do you want to go over that?
Sure.
What time frame that covers?
Just for context, so we've received about $11.5 million in ARPA funds. We report quarterly, and as of June, which would have been the last time we submitted a report, we've expended about $6.5 million of that. The majority of the funds are obligated and do meet the definition, Treasury's definition. So obligated funds need to be expended by December 2026. And obligated basically just means under contract, purchase orders in place, orders, things like that. So as we've gone through this year, the deadline to obligate funds to the U.S. Treasury is December 2024. So throughout the fall, we'll be taking a look at all of the projects and seeing what will be expended and what will maybe not be, and then reallocating those funds to projects that we can obligate by the end of this calendar year.
So the 6.5 million is still needs to be is obligated, but
Has been spent.
has been spent. Remaining we still need to
Yep.
obligate. Okay.
Well, of that remaining 5 million, some of it has been obligated. Some of that is already assigned to projects, but maybe hasn't been spent directly.
So
I think we probably have a few $100,000 that we may need
it's
to.
true, yeah,
Yeah.
truly kind of unobligated.
Correct.
Okay.
Like, for example, one of the allocations was for the fire truck, and so
Yeah.
that obviously takes probably 2 years for it to
Right.
actually get it, but the contract for that has been put in place. So that is obligated and encumbered. It just won't be spent until closer to December 2026.
Thank you.
But that's something we can provide as a report, and the select board will be reviewing that by the end of the month, I believe, so.
Yep.
Just so I heard you correctly, so are you saying of the remaining that is obligated, there's only roughly 200,000 that doesn't have a home? Roughly?
Roughly.
That's
yes.
fine, okay. I
Yes.
just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Correct. It's, I think there was like 137,000 that the board hadn't obligated yet, and then there might be some funds that by the end of the September report that we will pull back from departments and then find ways to reallocate
Got it.
those. Yep.
Thank you.
Gene?
David, one follow-up. It had been indicated at one of the selectmen's meeting that you were gonna look at the modeling a little bit, just for this upcoming budget
Correct.
on there. And I'm wondering if we can look a lot closer at some of these turnbacks and take that money and put it forward into the surprise fund there, that override
Yep.
fund. So we can extend this out additional years and we keep this out of the discussion for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yep,
Some of these funds.
That's a
The other
tremendous
thing.
suggestion. It's something we are looking at and trying to find ways to extend the override even further if we're able to. And, you know, if we're in a position where we haven't drawn down significantly from the override, we probably wouldn't be in the best position to then ask for another one. So we are modeling the turnbacks and other items in that way.
Just do one other follow-up. With some of these back taxes that are being
Yep.
collected, if we could also look at utilizing some of that money that we put into that fund also on there.
Yeah.
That's money that we have already spent from another bucket because we didn't have it. So now, whatever we get coming in, it could be a good way to, again, increase the deposit into that fund.
Correct, yeah. We need to be sure that we would break out the utility back taxes versus the real estate, but that is a very good point, yes. All right. Any other questions on this slide, or?
I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna sort of second what Gene says. I think we need to be much more aggressive on paying down the upcoming debt of pushing off the override, but really what we're saying is overspending. I mean, we cannot spend at the same fund. We saw the projections. It was minus 7 million, 9 million, you know, as we go on. So I think we really need to look at that as this upcoming cliff. And as Gene said, these great ideas to put that money forward. We may have to have an override eventually. We're gonna have to. But make it small and not spend, and then go, now we need 12 million. So I second everything Gene said, and I think those conversations should be done very soon so that we can not surprise anyone with their budget, we'll say. Sir?
Correct, yep.
So this next slide provides an overview of some historic data for local receipts. So you'll see in FY '24, we collected $18,014,640 in local receipts.
And there's an asterisk on FY '25's budget. As voted at the annual town meeting, we estimated revenue in the amount of $14,500,000. Our intent at the fall town meeting is to increase that estimate up to $15,500,000, and that's reflective of what we're seeing now based off of MVE, which we'll go over, and investment income being significantly higher. And that additional revenue right now is currently planned to be going to the override stabilization. So we're planning at the fall to increase revenue and then set it aside. We're not able to immediately jump up 5 million because of the requirements of the state, but we can move the needle each year.
I have one follow-up on excise.
Yes.
You had indicated $40 million in new cars sales.
Yes.
I would say that is definitely a big bonus to us this year, but even with the increases in prices, which they're saying right now are gonna be very low going forward for the automotive industry, I don't think we can ever expect that percentage again. I know,
Yep.
but $40 million of car value in this town is astronomical.
It-
There's gotta be a lot of expensive vehicles on the roads.
Have you driven the Shrewsbury roads?
I drive them quite often.
There's lots of them.
Yeah.
I do have a question on that. Is part of that increased revenue because unfortunately we keep increasing the population in town, so there's more cars?
Yeah.
Or is
That
it-
is an aspect of it. I think Gene points out a really important aspect, that the value of vehicles is one part of it. And it could also be when those vehicles get added on and when those new homes are then occupied. So I think it's a combination of both. I can't pinpoint which one
I
exactly.
guess I'm wondering how many cars do we have in town in 2024 that are registered versus 2020,
Yeah.
2015?
That would be those would be some fun numbers to run, so you can prepare stuff like that.
Rajesh?
Maybe the also related to the EVs, right? Maybe the cost of the EVs are much more expensive than the regular cars. Is that a factor? Because once you buy that, will be a recurring one anyhow, right? If it's a EV high price cars.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but I mean, the value of the vehicle is higher, but
Right. So can we expect that going like the same revenue? Maybe not to that.
I see what
much,
you're saying.
like,
As we replace standard combustion engines with electric vehicles, it would be very interesting to find a way to model that, and that could be something to look into, but we haven't done that research yet.
Thanks.
There's also a significant increase in interest income, which I don't think we'll be able to get with the interest rate cuts.
Yes, that's, again, it's a double-edged sword. We see significant increase in total revenue, but it's not that it's equally parsed out amongst all the revenue categories. It's really highly focused in a couple. And while we're grateful when we do receive it, and we will try putting it to the override stabilization and best use as possible, I don't think we can rely on investment income to consistently be coming in as it is.
Any further questions?
So I think to your point, this next slide really highlights the significance in some of the revenue categories as far as the difference between what was budgeted and what was actually collected. So, motor vehicle excise, it was almost 1.5 million over budgeted. Interest income and penalties was 2.4 million. So those really are the two big drivers.
What are the remaining revenue sources that we had 100% increase?
That would be, there's a couple different ones in there. There's like the E-rate for the schools. I think this breaks out from the
Yeah.
Medicaid reimbursement. We also have some of these we do know, but some of them, it's more of a timing, like the Medicaid reimbursement from the schools. Some years we see 20,000 and some years we see 200,000. So there's some really squishy items in that category.
So it's hard to model.
It is. Yes, very much. But we are working with Selco. I think we have some opportunities on the E-rate side, where in schools and the library may be able to benefit further from the E-rate reimbursements from the state, and that may be something we can then better model going forward. And so we are working with Selco on that.
Ask you a quick, with the interest, income in interest and then also penalties, is that, which one is more significant than previous years? Is it the penalties or?
Investment income.
Investment income, correct, yeah.
Yeah, investment income, the grand total for FY '24 was 3.4 million.
Thank you.
So we made about, well, 5.5 million more than we thought we were gonna make, correct?
Correct.
And you said before, we can't put that into the free cash, the override. Why
Well,
not? If it's more than we thought was gonna happen.
I may, if I misspoke earlier, I apologize. This will flow to free cash, which will be certified
Okay.
by the state towards the end of September, maybe October now. We will get our free cash certified by the state. Right now, we are looking at about 11.5 million in total free cash, including our turnbacks, which would be a new record high for the town. What I was implying earlier was that the amount that you're allowed to budget for local receipts can only increase a certain amount based off your prior years received. So when we were budgeting for FY '25 at the annual town meeting, we didn't have FY '24 actual numbers at that point in time. We were using FY '23 numbers. So there are some parameters in the state in that regard. So we can't budget, we weren't able to budget 18 million for FY '25 because we hadn't seen revenue like that beforehand. Does that make sense, or?
Kinda, like, so it doesn't matter what you budgeted, we have it.
We do have this, and this is gonna be in free cash, and
Right.
yes,
And we can use it, well, free cash, we can use it in multiple ways.
correct.
And some of that is to pay down debt, have extra free cash, have extra reserve cash.
Yep,
So we don't need to spend anything, we can keep it to make sure that we have reserve and free cash and the override fund, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
Yep,
I-
no.
I misunderstood you there.
no.
Okay.
Jim?
Regarding landfill, can you remind me, does that site have an end date?
It does have an end date. My understanding is that they are doing some research to extend that. I think the current end date is 2028.
Okay.
I will verify that, but I think they are extending that and looking for additional cells. Now, in the event that they are not able to continue that, they will still be able to operate their metals recovery facility, so that we may not receive revenue for the consumed airspace,
Right.
but we will still receive revenue from the metals recovery facility.
Not to put you on the spot, but when you look at that, is there a ratio you could share?
Between the two?
Yeah.
Yeah, the metals were, I think we bring in about, look at that, landfill 1 I'd say 500 to 700,000 is metals, and the remainder is the cubic airspace consumed.
Right.
So more of it would be no longer available because
Right.
the bulk of it is the,
Well, I guess it's nice to think that it's, 10 years ago, we thought we'd lose that site, but
Correct.
now we've got this alternative revenue source that probably won't go away, or at least not in the
or
foreseeable
hopefully
future.
we can taper off and we can,
Right,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
yep. All right, you wanna take this one?
Yeah, sure. So again, this is just a graph depicting budget versus actual for FY '24, and again, you kind of can see that motor vehicle excise and interest income penalties were really the drivers as far as the difference between the two.
And this is what gets us motivated and excited about having the revenue, but also really concerned.
Haven't we been seeing this pattern the past few years, that we're getting more local receipts than we modeled?
Yes, and we have been increasing our budgeted amounts. We didn't see the slowdown that we really anticipated.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
this kind of shows, year over year comparison, but if we look at budget to actual for the last
You wanna go,
few years,
pull up a different slide, or?
I was just gonna look off.
May I make a
Yeah.
comment? But we would generally prefer to under budget this, right? So that,
Absolutely. Because we want to make sure that we can maintain free cash, so that's one aspect. The closer we close that window down, we have less chance to miss, and there's less chance of funds flowing to free cash. We're not we don't want to purposely just leave a lot of money aside in free cash, but that is a reserve that the town is able to use positively when it comes to bond rating and such. And turnbacks also flow to free cash, so it's a balance, for sure.
And so just going back a few years, for fiscal year 2020, we collected 782,000 over budgeted. In FY21, it was 2.6 million over budgeted. In FY22, 2.5 million over budgeted. FY23, 2.8. So this year's definitely an outlier compared to the past few years.
And again, 2 million of that is investment income. All right. I'm gonna go. So this here is a snapshot of real estate and personal property taxes by fiscal year, the amount that we've billed, the exemptions and abatements, the payments received, refunds, and the year-end balance. It's important to note that on the real estate side, we have a little bit, it's easier for us to be closer earlier on. On the personal property, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for us to get to the 98%. It might take a year or two, and we do have consultants that we work with that help us get caught up in that area over time. And this, I think, Gene, helps answer some of the questions that you may have brought up in the June meeting regarding the tax title and the payments to date.
Could I just ask one follow-up on the personal property? Are you doing that on a regular basis now, a yearly basis?
I'm 99.9% sure that Ruth has Ruth, the principal assessor, works with a consultant on a yearly basis on the personal property. I will confirm that, but that's what I believe.
Because we were way behind there for a long period of time, and
Yep.
I think it was the year before last, we had a big jump
Significant.
after they actually got out into the field and looked at it.
Yes. I mean, the cost for the consulting services was minuscule compared to
Yes,
the personal
what they
property that
got,
was
yeah.
then able to be identified. Correct. But I will confirm that as well.
So that's all we have for the FY24 year-end review, if there's any more questions.
One more
Yeah.
question. Am I correct in that we're still not going to the max levy on taxation? Or have we, I know we didn't, at least the first year after the override, we didn't do the max levy. Are we still below that max levy?
We didn't do that the first year for sure at a much more significant amount. My understanding is that this past fiscal year, we did go to the max.
Okay.
Now, the max may not be 100%. There may be $1,000 less, but it's not like 50,000 or 100,000 or anything less than that. Yeah.
Okay, so we now are at basically the max.
Correct. But yes. But we purposely, when the override initially was enacted or put in place, the town did not tax the max. Correct.
Yep.
Just on the abatements, just stick to 24, either real estate or personal property. Can you equate those dollars to maybe number of applicants request? In other words, how many folks are asking?
Yeah,
How does that equal?
I know that Ruth could look at this and she probably could tell you the names of
Okay.
everybody.
Well, not looking for names, but just, is
Yeah.
it 20? Is it 100? Is it 5?
You may recall that the recent town meetings, there were some new exemptions that the town adopted, and we have seen an uptick in exemption and abatement requests.
Okay.
That is another, I think, great data source that we can provide this committee as to what we've seen over the years. Now, refunds on the other side are actual errors or
Right.
miscalculations. That's separate from the exemptions and abatements. Just looking at it, I feel like we can see that there most likely has been an uptick based on the increase in
Right.
24 over 23, but we'll get you more concrete numbers.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay. Will you be doing slide 7? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This will sort of move into the overview of FY26 as well.
So this is just a snapshot as we're gearing up for the FY26 budget timeline. Just a quick snapshot of kind of where we'll be going over the course of the next fiscal year. So on September 10th, the select board did call for a special town meeting. That special town meeting will be held on November 18th. So this first line will take us through the action dates for that, the signing of the warrant, the finance committee public hearing on the special town meeting warrant. And then also in the mix of this is the publication of the FY26 revenue manual in November. So November will be a busy month for this committee. And then after the special town meeting, we'll really get into the development of the FY26 budget. So budget guidance will go out to department heads sometime in either late November, early December. And through the month of December and January, town staff will develop the FY26 budget proposal to take us to the publication of Fiscal Projection 1, most likely on February 14th. And then that will lead us into the spring with the select board getting ready for the annual town meeting. The finance committee budget hearings are tentatively scheduled for March 20th and March 22nd. And then again, as you know, that leads us into the public hearings in April for the annual town meeting, which will happen tentatively on May 19th. And just kind of going along with this, there are so at the October meeting, we will be reviewing the draft special town meeting warrant prior to the public hearing. And just for anybody listening and for your knowledge, the planning board has scheduled some public hearings for the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. So they will have a public hearing also on October 17th, and then one on October 24th, and then their plan is to vote on the recommendations for the proposed zoning articles on October 30th.
The planning board also be over here, somebody over here to talk about?
Yes, the planning staff will be in on November 7th for the finance committee public hearing.
But what about October 17th, when we're going to get, you said it's gonna be part of our meeting, the October 17th one?
We'll provide an overview on the draft
I see.
warrant articles, yes.
I did have one question about that. With something as big as, that zoning changes, et cetera, I think it would be good if the finance committee members could actually be there at that meeting.
Right.
I don't know if we need to move our meeting, and I'll leave that up to the committee, but I think that's a very important meeting. Last year I went to a lot of the pre-meetings they had as well. And we did the same thing last year. We had finance committee meeting and a planning board meeting on a very important thing. And I do think we do a lot for the town, but we also should have a ability to be at that meeting and not have to skip this meeting. That's not a normal planning board meeting. That's gonna be and something we're gonna have to recommend on, I believe as well. We're gonna have to give our opinion on that.
That's what I was leading to as well, because I don't think they should overlap at the same time.
Not
We
this
need
one.
that input. First, I misunderstood that's gonna be at different times, but it doesn't.
So,
sound,
yeah, so traditionally, the planning board meets on the first Thursday, so their normal meeting would have been November 7th.
Mhm.
They've pushed it up to be able to have a couple in the month of October, so that their recommendations and that is all finalized before the finance committee public hearing.
Right, but we would be more informed if we were able to go to that meeting.
Yep.
And ask questions versus just watching it.
Are we hearing that? I mean,
So this will be the October 7th
like-
yeah,
meeting.
the committee does have the ability to review and adjust the meeting schedule on October 24th.
I would move that we
Yeah.
at least discuss it amongst the committee about moving that date.
Okay, we can do that when we review the meeting schedule,
Yep.
item number 6. Let's talk about that then.
And we'll make sure that if that's what is the desire of the committee, we'll confirm everything and be able to reach back out to the chair and vice chair on that.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Yeah, I guess that ends item number 5, unless Alex, you have anything else?
Nope,
you
that's
wanna
it.
talk about? No? Okay, thank you. In fact, that brings us to the meeting schedule, which we were just talking about, item number 6. So October 17th, as we just discussed, has a clash with a very important meeting. I suggest we do it the following day, but I'm open to suggestions over here, if, based on availability.
That'd be a Friday.
It would be,
That'll be a Friday, yeah, that's a Friday. Yeah, that's difficult. We do it the 24th?
so that would be the second public hearing of the
Yeah.
planning.
I mean, we could do it,
You could push it up a
we could
week.
push it up a
too.
week
Yep,
That's,
to the 10th.
to the 10th.
Would
Oh,
you,
prior to that, okay, I see. Okay.
sorry, quick question. Would the town staff have the materials prepped that they're planning to present to us a week earlier?
In regards to the standard documentation that would be provided at a meeting, yes. If we're discussing the items that may be at the planning board, I can't commit that that will be ready in a week in
we would
advance.
have the draft, by that time, the select board would have the draft warrant, so we would have draft articles as written. And as far as the planning board had gone with them.
So that will be 2 days soon after the select board sign the draft warrants.
Correct. Yep.
Select board is meeting on.
No, I'm sorry. That would be, so the warrant won't be signed until October 22nd.
Correct.
So regardless, you would,
We wouldn't have.
the warrant
review
wouldn't be
something.
finalized by the time you met.
We just have one day to review it, technically.
Correct. The select board will be reviewing the draft warrant and the draft articles on October 8th. So the 10th would be 2 days following their review of the draft.
Could we get
Diana, we
access to
would
the
have that
draft prior to that, or is that not possible?
Sorry,
We'd have it in our materials.
a draft warrant, not one that was signed by the select board, correct?
Yeah, so we would have access to that, hopefully, about a
Yes.
week prior to the 10th.
Correct.
So
So I propose 1 week, go ahead.
October 10th is what you,
October 10th is what I'm proposing.
Okay.
Is everybody on board with that? Do we have to vote on that?
I would.
I don't, you can
May
vote
not
on it
hurt.
just to be safe. I don't know if we need to, but we'll also then confirm first thing tomorrow.
Okay, so may I get a motion to move the October 17th meeting to October 10th, 2024?
I move to move the meeting from the 17th to the 10th.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. So, as discussed, we'll have our November 7th meeting, which is a public hearing on the special town meeting warrant. Then on the 18th will be the actual special town meeting, followed by the 21st. So that's 1 week before Thanksgiving. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, so the 21st is, we'll have our our normal FinCom meeting, and finally, prior to the holidays, December 19th. Is everyone okay with this schedule? Okay. Is there any other business anybody would like to bring up?
Yeah, but-
Gene?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pass this on to you and see if we could request this form to be put together for the Finance Committee that lists all the names, telephone numbers, et cetera, of all the different committees in town. This is something we always had, and it's something I think we need to communicate once in a while. We've got that all at our fingertips rather than trying to search it. So I submit that to you, and maybe you could follow up and talk with the
Yeah, I'm happy to help in any way with that.
Okay.
I think it's an important thing. I used it quite a bit myself, and,
So you're asking that all the members of our committee be put onto this list as
Yeah.
well? Yes, I think that's a very good idea. So, Alex, could somebody from the town meeting
Yep.
take care of,
Yep.
town
Make sure
manager
that we,
office take care of it?
yep.
Thank
That's
you.
something we can also provide in the shared drive as well, so you have that, an access paper copy and electronic as well.
Yeah.
Is everyone okay to share their contact
It's
information?
already up on the.
It's on the,
website.
it's on the website. It's
Yeah, it
publicly
is.
available.
If it's easier for people to have it there, I'm
I think a
More
hard
than
copy is just a little more
Okay.
old school.
meaningful. Yeah.
If I don't have it electronically, I don't have it, so the paper will probably get recycled if you hand it to me.
We'll keep your copy.
The drawer right there.
Okay. If there's
Put it
no
right.
other business, we can, sorry, you said something?
Nope.
Okay, we can move to item number 8, which is a review of the correspondence we received over the summer. So I had briefly mentioned A and B. There were emails from our state rep, Hannah Kane, regarding the Mass Leads Act and the state budget for fiscal year 2025. Any further comments on those two emails? Number C, 8C is basically an email also from the state rep Hannah Kane regarding the House Bill 4977, which is it's a relative to the Affordable Homes Act, and it was on August 19, 2024. So I had a question on this. It mentions in this email that there are some tax breaks to towns who comply with affordable housing. Does that in any way tie into MBTA zoning that we're going to be talking about later in fall?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
There's a couple different aspects, but the MBTA zoning does allow for opportunity for an overlay where affordable housing can be provided. This here, I believe, is more directly related to our housing stock and making sure that we reach the 10% affordable housing number. And by maintaining that, we are eligible for additional grants, and we have safe harbor, I think is the term that they use, which gives the town the opportunity to control when non-friendly 40B projects come into town. It provides us the opportunity to negotiate and develop friendly 40B projects.
Okay, I have one follow-up. I think the information that we shared at the select board meeting, on the affordable number of units, percentage-wise, is something that would be of interest to the committee.
Yeah.
So maybe that.
We can drop that in the
onto
folder.
Drive.
It's a great idea,
I thought
Jim.
that was a great presentation they
Yeah.
made.
Okay, the next item was 8D, an email from Taylor Galusha. It was Stay Connected, the weekly newsletter. We received that also on August 26th and September 2nd, so I won't repeat that. The only item left in correspondence was an email to the Finance Committee from Scott Wyman, Board Chair of Shrewsbury SYFS, for the welcome reception for the new Executive Director, Fred Kalin. I myself went, and he's a very wonderful person. I hope other people also had a chance to meet him. And I look forward to Fred's service to our community. Any comments on the correspondence? If not, we move to item number 9, which is adjournment. May I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you all.
Thank you.